Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Intellectual stew.
informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew with James.
What's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland. Back to have one of the hard conversations to make you think, conversations to make you look at, change your perspective, maybe look at the situation a little different. And I did not come alone tonight, but I have been asking this person for the longest if they would come on the show. And I don't even know why, but I just know I felt compelled to ask them. But we were always trying to find the right topic. And I think we found it. So I'm going to introduce her to the audience now so we can get right into this conversation. Tanithra, am I pronouncing that right?
Tanitria.
Okay, I want to get that right. So that way I can say it right for the rest of the night. What's up, Miss Buffington? Tanitria?
Hey. How are you?
Doing all right tonight?
I am wonderful. Tonight? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming. We've been playing inbox tag for the last several months, trying to figure out the right topic to bring you on, and I think this is a good one because we're going to talk about the damage that bad advice does for those that have been victimized by bad advice. Let me tell you how this conversation came about. Now, I'm really like family centric. I want to see the family hold again. I want to see people get married. Now, I was married 20 years, grew up in the marriage, but like I tell people, sometimes growing up in the marriage produces growing pains, right? And so when that pain is too painful to bear, typically what we do is amputate. We go another direction. So I get it. I'm grown now. So, I've made my mistakes. I know what I did. And so I watch people now, especially on this Blue app, and it seems like they struggle so hard to communicate. It seems like they struggle so hard to break down the walls of communication. And then you see so many people. Hey, Catherine Taylor. Hey, Ashley. How y'all doing? And I jumped right in, y'all. I'm sorry. I didn't even do no commercials or none of that kind of stuff. I missed y'all last week. Whatever. Good. Okay, now we back. But I see so many people trying so hard. And I saw a particular post. And this is how the post went. It was by a young lady. And I'm not judging. I can't do that. That's not my name. I'm James Kirkland. I'm not James the judge. But this young lady put a post out and she said something about, I'm getting ready to start a podcast about how these men are so insecure when it comes to dealing with strong women. Women need to hear this. I got to start a podcast. And so it's like wildfire underneath this post, right? Everybody telling their negative experiences with men. And then here comes an older lady, and she talks about her negative experience with men. And then all of a sudden people start jumping on that post. And then I know a couple of women. So I went in the inbox. So I want to have a conversation. Let's talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Because where's the productivity in this? Where's the profitability? How does this help our community, right? Because if you're spewing venom, in a sense, and that's the way of doing it. And when I talked to this person that I had the conversation with, I was hoping she would be able to jump on the conversation tonight. Tanisha, this is what she told me. First, she kind of defended it, but then she started thinking, and she said, you know what? I might have lost a relationship because of some advice I took from her. And so when I see people who have influence and they're giving advice, I get nervous. I get scared because people that are asking for advice, Tanitria, to me, they're at a vulnerable state because they're at a crossroad, right? And they're looking for advice. They're looking for something, for a solution or whatever. And then if you have someone who is unhealed, someone who's broken, someone who and then sometimes they use broken and unhealed under the guise of strength. It's not strength. Not when you become a bully. You're the therapist. Tell me where I'm wrong. Where am I saying this wrong? You tell me. You're the therapist.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think so many people have to be discerning and wise when we are choosing who we listen to, who we allow to speak into our lives.
Okay.
I listen to people all the time, and I go, "Ooh, they're bitter, but they have huge followings.
Yeah.
They're not healed, but they have huge followings." That doesn't mean that these people should be speaking into my life, and I think that's where we have to start saying, does this person resonate with me because we're in the same place, we're both unhealed, or do they resonate with me because they're challenging me? And most of the time, if we're honest, we don't want to be challenged. We want somebody who's going to resonate with us because we identify with what they're saying.
Wow.
And I think some of us have to be really self-reflective and go, you know what, I don't need somebody else to just tell me, like you were saying with that example about how insecure men are. I don't need to hear that. I
Mm-hmm.
need to hear how to deal with a healthy relationship. I I can look, it's easy. My mentor always says it's easy to tell people what's wrong with them. It takes discernment to tell them what's right with them when they're in the middle of the mud, when they're in the middle of the dirt. It's easy to say you're dirty.
Can you do me a favor? Can you rewind and say that one more time? What your mentor tell you one more time? I need you need to listen, everybody. This is Tenitria, Miss Buffington. She's a licensed mental health professional. So we got y'all know I like this is the intellectual stew. So sometimes we need to have these conversations and look at it through different lenses, right? I've been preaching for 28 years, so I have a pastoral lens. I'm a father for 24 years, so I also have a father lens. I was a husband for 20 years. So I got that of a spouse. So I got several lenses I'm looking through, but I don't have a mental health. I don't have a therapy lens, right? I could talk about my experiences, but I want to bring people in like Tenitria. And this is from a female therapist side. Sometimes we'll bring a male therapist in because we need to look at these, we need to put different lenses on these different situations so we can better understand. Now listen, we won't always come away with a solution because I can't always give you a solution, but we can put all the cards on the table and have a conversation. And if you identify with it, if you put the thought in the chat, whatever you're gonna do, we'll talk about it. And I'm sure Tenitria doesn't mind answering any of these questions that you all might have as it relates to dealing with some of these issues. Now let's get back to what your mentor said. Your mentor said, "Say what now?" She
she
said,
was she was basically saying how important it is for us not to just call out what's wrong in a situation, because it doesn't take much discernment, it doesn't take much wisdom to look at something that's in a bad situation and say it's in a bad situation. It
"Absolutely,
takes the eyes of God for us to be able to look at a situation and see and call out what God has put into that person or into that situation. And most of us, again, as I was saying, we resonate with the thing that, you see it with preachers, you see it with motivational speakers, and they're always talking about their haters, they're haters, they're haters, and everybody gets so excited. Most of us don't have real genuine haters,
that's
because
right."
most of us aren't doing revolutionary things where people are waking up in the morning to say, I got to stop the progress. We may have somebody criticizing or critiquing some things, but ultimately, I don't know if I would put them in the category of hater, but we like listening to that kind of stuff because it tickles our emotions. It makes us fired up rather than going, nobody's really hating on me. I really need to just focus on what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, I call that creating your own. I used to tell my ex-wife, I said, you like to create your own crisis so you can solve it right quick. It was a joke with us. You know what I'm saying? But so many
Mhm.
people do, like you said, want to create that crisis or create that fire so they can put it out. So that way that makes them then they can put on a cape and say I'm a superhero, because
Right,
all of us are legends in our own mind first, right? Those,
right.
especially those of us that choose to make our light shine instead of letting our light shine. It's a difference when it comes to
Hmm.
letting and making but no, but that bothered me. And so when I looked at that one person who put that negative post out, I had seen a pattern. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And this person is probably in their late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that range. So young women listen to her. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so when you got somebody who's like, I mean, I think the way the Roach Motel worked was that the roach, they say you check in, but you don't check out, because one roach would go in, pick up a little poison, take all that poison back to the colony, and then kill
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And I think that's what so many people, like you said, that have these huge followings, men and women, that have these huge followings and aren't healed, but have a platform, that have a message, and they're molding that message to unhealed people, because they know that
Mm-hmm.
unhealed people are the ones that are going to respond the most. And like I said earlier, Tanitria, when when people have gotten to a point, place, and posture where they're asking for advice, they're probably at a vulnerable state.
I agree. I agree, and I do think it's a, if someone has influences, they have to have that with responsibility. But again, we both said they may not be healed themselves, so they don't even realize the damage that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's the really sad part. That's the part where you look and you go, man, that is affecting so many people. But I think that's why your voice is important in those situations, to say, I'm not going to go on her post and blast her, but I may come over
absolutely.
here and share on my own post of a different perspective. I'm going to give a different outlook to, you know, to a generation. And hopefully some of those people will say, maybe there's something to that. What I always say when I'm choosing who I'm listening to is I'm looking at their results in their own life.
Mm,
What
that's
gives
good.
this person's credence to have influence in my life?
That's good.
So I always think about, like my grandmothers have passed away, but both of my grandmas were really amazing women. I love them. They had huge amounts of influence and ability to speak into my life about
Hmm.
certain things.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm going to pause. They
Exactly.
didn't speak into my life about real estate investing because they didn't know that.
Wow.
They didn't
Okay.
speak into my life about certain things because they had no idea. They loved me. They wanted what was best for me, but they didn't have the information. So I'm looking and go, can I learn how to cook a sweet potato pie from grandma? Yes. Can I
Yep.
learn how to be generous and care about people in my community? Yes. Can I learn about going up the corporate ladder from my grandmothers? No.
Yeah.
They
And
didn't
but
have that information.
absolutely. And but that sweet potato pie and being how to learn love and all those things have their place. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And they definitely add, and they definitely, more than anything, they have value, because
absolutely.
it was the conversation that took place while you were making the sweet potato pie. Because wasn't no measuring spoons in there, wasn't no, wasn't no, what you call them, measuring cups and no teaspoon. It was a dash of this, a dash of that. It was a put a little bit of love.
Right.
It was a different situation, but you were able to sit at grandmama's feet, if you will. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I mean, I know that's a metaphorical term, but you were able to sit there and learn, and that conversation provided value for other areas of life. And I think that's the part that, what you call it, Ashley called it, a tank of this and a tank of that. When you start talking about putting it, but yeah, that's one thing we really, really, really have to take value in, is, and that's what I'm glad you brought up, that whole thing about influence, because so many people have influence but use it for the wrong thing. Or some people don't even realize. I talk to a young lady all the time. She does not realize what type of influence she has. Who's this
Mm.
block coming in with this devil girl? You better, let me kick somebody out of here. I don't know what that was. Okay, they putting some stuff through YouTube, but yeah, don't even realize the type of, what the influence that they have and what can happen. That's why I get nervous
Hmm.
when I see a 60-year-old woman putting all this stuff out there. When they get mad at us because they tell us, they leave us alone, then they tell us that then they end up leaving us, having to be single. Then we supposed to be single. What we supposed to do? We supposed to be stronger. Da, 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 da. And that's how I heard the text, because she was writing. That's the sad part about it. That's how I heard it. You texting and writing it, but that's how I hear it, right? But who gonna want to deal with somebody even after the nigga holler, I can't get a man? Don't nobody want to deal with our man. I'm not. We're not gonna get into that part of the conversation. We're on the influence aspect of it. So, as in your experience, even in the mental health aspect of it, you see people that have mental issues but still have influence, right?
I do.
And how do they? disperse? So how do they act out that influence? Do they? I mean, you seen it for negative, you seen it for good. I mean, how does that work out?
So I think when you talk about having influence, we all have influence, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To some degree, some of us have larger platforms, and social media has definitely given everybody the opportunity to have a platform. Um,
Yeah.
so I think we have to remember that piece. We all have influence, but everybody again has their own journey to healing, their own journey to freedom. So um, I guess how do I deal with it, or what do I see? I see people that are struggling, and they may have larger followings, or they may have those types of things. All I can do from a professional perspective is to try to get them to see things from a healed perspective, or to
Okay.
approach things from a whole perspective. Um, but yeah, you can literally go on any of the platforms and see people, and you go, oh, they spewing out a lot of hate. They're spewing out a lot of whatever. What can I do? I can't. I don't know. I think we have to look at where our influence goes into, because I see things all the time and I go, I'm not going to go and blast them on their platform.
Oh no, no, no,
But what
definitely.
I will do is I will post something that's in line with what I believe on my own platform, and try to
Okay.
disseminate that information the best way I can. You know,
Okay.
I used to hear people say all the time, what doesn't, and you'll still hear it now, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always go, it's a lot of people that didn't get killed. They weak.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
not what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's what doesn't kill you that you learn from, that you grow from, that you are able to process in a healthy way, that makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And so rather than blasting somebody talking about, no, that's not the truth, I go, let me just provide a different perspective on my own platform. Let me share this in my thing. So I think when we get hurt by advice, a lot of times we're really hurt because we allowed somebody to speak into us that probably we knew wasn't the best source. Now that's not
Mm-hmm.
always the case. Sometimes, you can get some bad information from somebody who loves you. You believe they want the best for you. I think I saw in one of your posts concerning this topic, someone said they got married because other people
Yeah.
told them
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a good,
That was her husband.
that's your husband.
Yeah. That was
But at
crazy.
the end of the day, you have to remember, and this is what I tell my clients, I don't have to live with those results. That's why I don't tell my clients what to do.
And that I don't want to get into that point yet, but you actually bring up a powerful point. You know what I mean? Because I heard a young lady earlier today. She said, "Well, it's on me when I get the advice what to do with that advice." You know
That's
what I'm saying?
exactly
I
it.
can process that advice. I can do this. And I said, okay. Only thing about that is the person that I was in the conversation with, I would consider them to be an above average thinker. Okay,
Hmm.
and I don't think everybody thinks on that level, right? And so when you have people who don't think on that level, and they're
Hmm.
vulnerable enough to come to you for advice. Some of them are, their hopes are hinging on your. I mean, like I said, I've been preaching 28 years, and I'm gonna be
Hmm.
honest. There have been many a Saturday night when I'm getting that word together that I'm scared as I don't know what Sunday morning, because I don't want to say the wrong thing and somebody take what I said
Hmm.
and they use it for the wrong information. Whatever. I mean, I give you an example, Tanisha. It was in 95. I was at a church serving here in Atlanta, and I was working with the youth department. We had gone to a youth retreat, and there was this young lady in the group. Her mother was dealing with a crack addiction and hadn't been home in several weeks. And so while we're flowing in the spirit, and I'm flowing in the gifts, and I done gave this girl a prophecy. I'm coming to get you in 1 second, Coy. I'm giving this girl a prophecy, and the Lord just all of a sudden told me to say, this is after Thanksgiving, leading into Christmas. The Lord led me, and she hadn't seen her mama in a while. And the Lord said, tell her she'll see her mama before Christmas. And I
Hmm.
said it like he told me to. And I said, oh God. I said, why you tell me to say that? And then God, and I'm like, I'm nervous because I know I done told this girl that, and her hopes are hinging on my words, right? And I'm scared. So at the time I was young then. I came back to Arkansas. I went back to Arkansas for Christmas. And when I went back to, somebody said they can't hear me. If y'all can hear me in the chat, y'all please say yes. Somebody else, if you can't hear me, you can hear me, right, Tanitria?
I can hear you. Hmm.
If anybody else in the chat can't hear, let me know. But anyway, Coy, hold on, bring Coy and make sure she can hear me. You were out there. Can you hear me, Coy? Let's turn your phone up. Your phone might not be up. Everybody else said they can hear me, bro. Everybody, so turn your phone up, take it up. No, no, hit this a little button on the side, push it up, and that makes the volume go up. But anyway, Tanisha, so I get this woman of prophecy, right? I'm telling her mom. So I go home for Christmas, and I'm gone till after New Year's. I'm scared as I don't know what to go back to church because I don't know what this girl's gonna say, right? But when I get back to church, first thing she does is she takes off running, comes and gives me a hug and says, Reverend Kirkland, my mama came home before Christmas. Now she went back out in the streets, but she did come home and she hugged me and she said she's gonna get some help. Da, da, da. But I was so afraid because I didn't want them, because I knew I had influence in her life, and I didn't want to damage that influence by telling her something that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so many people assume that position so fast. Y'all need to share this conversation if y'all are listening right now. Share this confirmation because there's more. It should be more people in the chat listening right now. Y'all share this. If you're listening, share it, share it, share it, share it, and we're gonna be going. Corey, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Hi, Coy.
All right. Corey is one of my panelists, Corey and Ashley, and I have few people that I use. So I wanted the majority of the conversation, of course, to be with you, Tanitria. So I might bring my panelists in like one at a time if they have any questions or anything. But I didn't want to have us 4 people up here talking. So Corey, you've been listening to the conversation, and now we're in on the influence aspect of how do you feel about people with influence giving bad advice?
Ooh, it's cringing. But a lot of people they listen to it for some odd reason. I don't know. I just if I need advice, which I rarely ask anyone for anything, I just pray about it. But if I do, I would go to someone that I think may have the experience in it and they won't, without judgment. And that's if someone comes to me for advice, I I I just try to give them 2 different perspectives, instead of just saying, hey, this is what you should do. I never do that. I just can't bring myself to doing that to anyone because I may give them the wrong advice. So I just say, hey, if you do this, then maybe this, but if you do it this way, then, it may turn out this way. So you have to get people to thinking for themselves as well so that they can make that decision.
Got you. And so let's talk about a couple of the people, a couple of comments, because I put a question out today and I asked what are characteristics of bad advice. Young lady by the name of Shonda Rose. I'm just gonna read it. Shonda Rose Mallory gave a good one. She said it doesn't cause you to move out of self-control. It doesn't lead you to anger, guilt, shame, confusion, or make you uncomfortable doing anything ungodly. So basically, in my opinion, good advice should point you back to the truth of God, not align you with flesh, emotions, or will. I thought that was a really good, thought out example of characteristics of advice, because I think good advice should make you feel a certain way. It should leave you. It shouldn't make you resentful. You know what I'm saying? You ever had somebody gave you? Well, I know y'all probably not, I know y'all don't gamble, but if you did gamble, right, and somebody told you to, it's a sure thing on this horse. Bet it all on this horse. I got the inside track. It's you bet it all on this horse, and then you go bet all your money on that horse, and that horse come in last place. You're gonna want to go and see that person, right? You're gonna want to cuss them out in English, Spanish, and the Holy Ghost, but you're gonna want to cuss them out. And so, but that's what happens when people give bad advice. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why you should, give them some options. That way they can only rely on self. After they made the decision, they can't come back and say, "Oh, you said this or you did this. You told me to do it." I'm not I'm not gonna lead nobody down that road. I can't do that because I don't want to be blamed for any kind of bad advice.
I agree with Coy. And I was saying a little bit earlier, I don't tell my clients what to do.
I love that.
I
I
tell
love that.
them all the time, I said, you are an adult. My job is to help you facilitate and process your
Talk,
own
girl.
thoughts and feelings and provide
Mm-hmm.
different perspectives. And so many times, and I think one of the comments said, a lot of times people don't want that accountability. And
Mhm.
so they want somebody and they are seeking out somebody to tell them what to do. And they'll say, well, so and so said it. So it's really kind of on them. And we have to take that personal accountability to say, but they don't have to live with the results. If I marry somebody
That's good.
based on my friend saying that's a good catch, that's cool, but my friends don't have to live with them.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do some real research. And then the other thing I believe is, especially when you're talking about prophecy, just because you get a word from God doesn't mean you don't have some responsibility to walk that thing out.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
advice, bad advice, as much as we want to put it on the person who's disseminating, it really at the end of the day we have to put it back on what was it about that made me buy into that, to believe that, to follow that. Because oftentimes we will know inside of us that doesn't sit right with us. We'll
Discernment.
go,
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't, that does not.
It's and I think that probability is higher with people that are better thinkers. You know what I'm saying? Because some people honestly just it's some
You're right.
stinking think. It's some.
No,
I don't
you're
mean no
right.
harm, but it's some
Did you say
stinking
stinking
thinking
think?
people in the world. You look at some of the stuff. I mean, I'll be like, and if I cuss, just it's gonna be a little short word, like a 4 letter. It ain't gonna be nothing major. It might be a little, but I'm gonna try to behave tonight since you're on here to Demetrius. But but I ain't lying. When people, but sometimes it made me want to say, "What the Hades?" I mean, because the advice, who raised you? You know what I'm saying? Because some of this stuff is just, it just doesn't make any sense, and people will run with that advice. And I know it talked about, a time that, in the Bible talked about a time where seducing spirits would come and people would be drawn away of their own lusts. And because everybody wants a solution, right? We know this microwave, one of the worst things they could ever did was come up with microwave popcorn, right? Because everybody wanted it
Mm.
so fast. If you throw it in the microwave
Mm-hmm.
in a minute and a half, minute and 45 seconds, you got a big old bag of popcorn. Don't nobody want to wait on the grease to get hot. Don't nobody want to drop the little 3 kernels in there to see when the grease is
Yeah.
ready. We don't want to go through the process anymore. So they want to come to Tenitria, Dr. Buffington, whatever they, counsel, whatever, and they want a solution. They want you to tell them what to do. And that's why in this age, and I'm thinking about getting into it myself, but that's why everybody want a life coach. Everybody and their mama want a life coach right now. They want somebody to help them map out their lives. And what's funny to me is the ones, and I'm not knocking life coaches because I know they have their place. I know some people that pay business coaches $30,000-$40,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? So they're helping map out people's lives. But what happens to the individual that doesn't have the $30,000-$40,000, doesn't have the $1,000 a month, you know what I'm saying, but still looking for the same answer, and the person they're looking for the answers from don't have the credentials that the person has suffered for the $30,000? Because the person that's doing that has obviously earned that place in somebody's life, right? So I'm careful about who I go to advice for. You know what I'm saying? That's I've learned that there's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. I'm like, what you say, Ashley? How you cut short? I'm sorry. I'm because I'm talking about with short words, like 3-letter words, 4-letter words. I ain't talking about like too many syllables with my cuss words. That's what I'm talking about, Ashley. So, but no, I'm Tanisha. I go out sometimes like that. Coy will tell you that's why she just said that. Coy just sit there and laugh at me. That's Coy just sit there laughing because they learn to forgive me. They learn. So what you talking about, Razir? Friends justify each other's abnormal behavior. That's why it's a good thing to always listen. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I really commend Tenitria for saying that she doesn't give her clients, and this is not, this is what she does for a living. So this is not nothing that we're not talking about speculation somebody, but she's paid to really listen to people and help them sort things out. But she's saying, I'm not paid to give advice. I'm paid to help you figure it out. And it's not all, and they're not the same, people. They're
No,
not the same.
absolutely
Hear me
not.
when I say this to you. I put this on Facebook earlier. Advice is optional. If you give me advice, I have the option of whether or not I want to. I know people who give me advice and will get offended if I don't use it. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know people like that. That's
Yeah,
a
people
sad
that
state.
like to tell you what to do.
Yeah, basically. I mean,
Hmm.
I have one friend. He's a friend. I ain't gonna lie. But anytime I say anything, he has a suggestion for it. I mean, a suggestion and stuff. He has no expertise in that area whatsoever. But he'll tell you how to do this, and and I used to get offended by it, but I'm trying now. I'm kind of learning how to do it with filtered hearing. Just
But is he
go
a
and say what
great
you go.
thinker, James? Does
Yeah, I
he
think he's a
think?
pretty good thing.
Does he
I think he's
rationalize?
he does. He does. But still, I didn't ask you. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's one thing is bad advice, but I'm gonna tell you another thing is unsolicited advice. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for
Yeah.
grown. especially for grown folks. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That got a nerve to tell you everything to do with what you got going on and all that kind of stuff. I don't have time for that. Okay, so it's 9:30 and we're on good time because I said I wanted to accomplish a couple of goals tonight. But before we accomplish that goal, Tanitra, you said you were going to tell us how to recognize
Mm.
bad advice.
Hmm.
How to how would you listeners with the listeners in right now? How would you tell them to recognize bad advice?
Ooh. Um, I think I'm looking at bad advice with, again, kind of that initial statement of I'm looking at who's giving this advice and what their life, what the results they have. So
Mm,
if you are telling me um, about how to, let me think of a good example. If you're trying to tell me how to raise $1 million, but you're struggling to pay your rent, which is $1,500, I may not take that advice because you haven't proven that you know how to implement this. So looking at seeing, the results of the other person's life. So when we're looking at bad advice, we're going, does this person know about, or do they have enough skill to tell me about this particular thing? I think other advice, and someone said, they said it in that answer that you said, does it take me away from, now this is personal because I'm a believer, does it take me from God? Does it take me away from being in line with what God has said? So if you're telling me, hey, go after some woman's husband, that's, even if you have a happy marriage, if you're telling me that goes against me being in integrity with myself. So bad advice is advice that's going to take you away from being in integrity. Bad advice is advice that is coming from a source with an impure motive, because people will tell you things because it benefits them as opposed to
Hmm.
what benefits you. I've had clients to tell me you're not in a place. I mean, I'm sorry. I've had clients that I have to tell you're not in a place right now where you're fully committed to this. I could keep continuing to take the money, but what I think is to do this and this and this, right? And so I'm giving them the option. You can continue working with me, but you're not in a place where you're ready to implement,
You're not
or
ready.
you could
Hmm.
pause that. Now, my side says it'd be better for me to keep taking their money, right? But
yeah.
I want to look at, is that what's best for them? And so you want to consider good advice, bad advice. Um, and I don't even know if I say, well, yeah, some advice is bad. I was going to say I didn't want to assign good or bad, but some is just out there. It's just bad. Um, but you want to look at, is this person benefiting from this, and how? What's their motive in telling me, you know, when they offer a stock I need to invest in, is that because they are owning a part of that company, or is that because they have invested and they are seeing a positive result and they go, you know what? Let me show you my returns. Let me show you what I'm getting. I can, that's a different space than I need you to do these things and then I'm the only one that's going to benefit. So is it mutually beneficial? Um, when I'm listening to the advice. And so I just think there is that. And I know you keep having this heart for, there are a lot of people that don't think like us, but we have to
Yeah.
try. I think we have to not, um, still have to believe that people, no matter what level they're on, they still have the ability to make
Absolutely.
wise choices,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
everybody is
Absolutely.
not cognitively in the same headspace.
Hmm.
Trust me, I understand that. But you can still continue to go. But do you want to keep hitting that wall over there?
Yeah.
Because no matter
That's
how smart you are, it's gonna hurt.
yeah. 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 And that's where I think a good influential person will say, "Why are you silly bumping your head?" You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
mean, like I give you an example. I used to drink back in the day, right? And when I drank, I probably drank a little too much at a certain point. And at a certain point, literally, would throw up every day. I had to get my day started. It was acid reflux, so it wasn't coming out, but
Mhm.
it was every day. And then one day I
Hmm.
looked in the toilet stool and I said, you gonna keep doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then I stopped. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw that association. It was drinking, stomach hurting, can't get my day started. I don't drink anymore, thank God. But I had
Yeah.
to look at that correlation of, if this is hurting me, then why do I continue doing that? You know what I'm saying? And if everybody can say, because when we're children, we're taught, we try to tell the child not to touch the stove. But the first time he or she runs his little behind over there and touches that hot stove, then all of a sudden it's hot. You know what I'm saying? And then they don't want to do that anymore, right? But as adults, sometimes we're not that sensitive. Sometimes we don't, because we got so many things as we're adulting coming at us, right? So we're not, we just know something hurt us, but have we taken time to get back to the source to see exactly what hurt us, right? And where did that bad advice come? Because that bad advice could have come in our homes at the family reunion every year. You know what I'm saying? When the women stood in one room and the men stood in another room, and somebody led the conversation, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't always good advice, you know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that I look at. But no, that's a great analogy, a great example of how to recognize if something is bad advice. Because I think if a person is giving advice, and Corey, you can let us know how you feel about this. Ashley, if you want to jump in this conversation, I sent you the link. But if a person is giving advice, they should know something about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like me saying I'm going to go apply for Jackson State to be the football coach. I know that was shade, but I threw it out there anyway. So if I go out there if I go apply, I don't know nothing about football. I don't know what cover 2 defense is. I don't know what a 4-3. I don't know what nickel is. I don't know that. So it wouldn't be wise for me to be the coach because I don't have experience. But if you want to talk about some of those other areas we talked about, you want to talk about the Bible, I got you. You want to talk about marriage, I got you. You want to talk about messing up in a marriage, I got you. You want to talk about forfeiting your family, I got you. You want to talk about what it feels like to be alone after divorce, I got you. You know what I'm saying? But that's not always how we should respond. And that's so let's do this, Coy, and let's do this, Tanisha. And like I said, Ashley, if you're there and you want to jump in, fine. If not, we got it. I'm getting ready to put up some things that we should consider when people ask us for advice. And we're going to try to be out of here in a little bit, not too much long. But I got about 4 or 5 things I came up with, Tanisha. I didn't get this out of no book. I didn't Google it on the internet, so it's not approved by the psychotherapy manual or whatever y'all go by. This is just James, okay? So we're going to see what this is, all right? So things you can do when people ask for advice. First thing, this is what I think. First thing you should do is what? Listen. That's first thing. Am I okay with that with Mr. Nitria?
Hey, you're on it.
Okay. Am I okay with that, Corey? And we should listen intently, people. We should not listen to respond. Everybody wants to have the perfect answer. Everybody wants to have the perfect solution. I had a friend of mine call me earlier today, and this individual is pondering getting out of their marriage. Notice how I use the pronoun there. I didn't say her. I didn't say him. I said, but this person called me today, and they're considering getting out of their marriage, right? And they're going through this whole soliloquy, explaining to me about how they feel in their marriage, and they made a mistake, and it hadn't been that long, and they're thinking about getting it annulled. And they're talking. They probably talked about 10 minutes. And while they were talking, you know what I was doing? Washing dishes. Listening, of course. But I was washing dishes. And when they got through talking about it, I kind of changed the subject. Because I'm not going to tell you to leave your marriage.
They didn't ask you for the advice, though, did they?
They did not. They asked me for advice. They were wanting advice. Because after they got through, they said, well, I thought you would have said something. I said, I did. My silence said volumes. I said, when you go back in your own time and you listen to the voice of everything you said, then you'll be able to come over. Because sometimes I think, Tanisha, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think sometimes when people are asking for advice, sometimes they need to hear it themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think what they're asking for is validation.
Okay.
You know, like, hey, what do you think? Because I already have some ideas of what I think, but I want you to say what I'm thinking, so I can go, yeah, I was right.
They want you to support that decision that they're thinking about making.
That decision. So I think, especially when it's a matter of should I leave my husband, should I leave my wife, those types of decisions, I'm not going to tell you that because I'm in a happy relationship. I say all the time, I don't have to live with those results. I work a lot with couples, and I will constantly tell them, I do not live with this person. I am not going to tell you to leave them or to stay. I am going to say, let's work through some things. Let's look at it from different perspectives. And so, I think listen was right on the money. They need that perspective.
And honestly, I do that with everybody. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now, even and Corey, you've heard me say this with my own child. You know what I'm saying? When my son got a certain age, Tanisha, I tell this story quite a bit. He was in his second year of of junior college at a certain college in Alabama, and going into his second year, he was top 150 JUCO prospect, was a pro prospect. Was going to get a good D1 offer after all this. So all these things were going in his favor, right? And so, but right before the season started, he's working off the tee and he breaks his hamlet bone, his a bone in his hand. So he misses most of the season. So about 20 games left. They're in like second place in the country. They're missing their leadoff hitter, which is my son. So they're like, hey, Trey, if you come back, play these last 20 games, which basically means he's going to give up half his season, we'll help you get a scholarship. Worst case scenario, we'll get you at a D1 school. So Trey calls me on the phone. He says, Dad, you know what? I was thinking, I know I missed half the season. Coaches told me if I come back and play 20 games, they'll help me get a D1 scholarship. I'll be able to help them go to the College World Series and hopefully win the College World Series. I've been practicing and practicing. I've been practicing in practice. So I think I'll be okay. Da, da, da. So when he got through, I said, okay, and hung up the phone. And so he called right back. But Dad, what you think? I said, don't matter what I think. You thought. Have a good day. Love you. And the thing was, because when he started the conversation off, first thing he told me was, Dad, I was thinking. He's a 19-year-old young man now. He's a grown man. I'm not going to rain on your parade. If you've had a thought process, run with that thought process, young man, and see how it works. And if it don't work in your favor, guess what? At least you walk away with the power of experience. Now, I will be honest, I really didn't listen to that conversation. I put the phone down because I was done. I knew I had
Yeah,
done
tempted.
no, because I knew I'd done my job when he said I was thinking. Now, if he would have started the conversation off by saying, what do you think? And then told me, then that meant he didn't believe in what he said. Now, if he said I was thinking, that means not. And if he said thinking, that means that's the only thing he told me. I know my son, he probably flipped it 3 or 4 times before it came out of his mouth into my ears because he's my child. I know he knows how to process, right? So when a person tells me that they're thinking, and that's what they're doing sometimes when they're talking and they're asking for advice, they're listening. They're listening to themselves, right? Sometimes you got to throw mud up against the wall and see what sticks. And that's what that conversation does as the individuals who are being asked for advice, as we listen. They'll tell you how to, I sell cars sometimes. People tell you how to sell them a car. People to tell you how to minister to them. A woman to tell you how to love her. I tell women all the time now, shoot, if I like you, trust me, I'm considering the clues. I'm looking for breadcrumbs. I'm watching for the hints you give me, right? Because I'm listening intently,
Yep.
trying to figure out what it is you like. As we are ones that give advice, then we have to kind of consider. Anybody want to add something to that before I go into the next thing? I'm sorry, I don't want to dominate the conversation. I got Demetria on tonight, so I need to let her talk more. My bad. I'm sorry. Anybody?
Do
Oh,
your
nothing.
thing. It's your show.
Yeah, you're right. Now y'all like what, girl? Hey, hold on, intellectual. My bad. All right, so that's the first thing we got to listen, right? First thing we got. Hey, Chastity. So we having a serious conversation tonight, Chastity. So we can't be, So we
Hey.
we talking about what we talking about? Oh, being victimized by bad advice, being victimized. So the
What
first
we
thing,
talking about?
I forgot. All right, so the first thing is, if what we should do when people come to us for advice is we should listen. Here's the second thing. Now, listen intently, but this is how we listen intently, and we'll break these down one by one. I'll read them out loud right now. First thing is analyze what they're saying. So that means you have to be, and you can explain this to us, Doc. I'm gonna call you Doc. Explain to us what an active listener is, Tenitria.
Active listening is listening for what is being said, asking open-ended questions, asking for clarity.
Okay.
Also, sometimes active listening is listening for what's not being said.
Okay. That's
So,
good.
if you're saying something to me, but your nonverbals are communicating the opposite of what your words are saying, I'm going to reflect that back. I hear you saying you're really happy that you're getting married, but I see a very sad countenance. Tell me about that.
Give us some examples of nonverbals.
Nonverbals, your body language. Your nonverbals is your tone of voice. Your nonverbals is how you hold yourself. It's that the way we communicate, we do it all the time. Nonverbals can
Yeah,
be an eye roll, it can be an arm fold. It's you're communicating loud and clear, but you're not saying words. So
yeah,
nonverbal is when you're communicating but not with words.
that's good. Corey, you want to add anything to that? I
No,
want to.
no, that's I when someone calls me, because a lot of people call me for advice, I grab my pen and I grab my paper and I start writing. I'm just listening to everything they're saying, then I go back over what they said with them and ask questions, and because I learned a long time ago, listening and hearing, they're two different skills. So I learned you have to learn how to listen. We hear by default. So
Yeah.
listening is the number one thing, definitely.
All right. So as we listen intently, first of all, we got to analyze what they were saying. What they're saying. I think I heard you say that, Tanitria. But also, this is another thing for me. Try not to get too emotionally invested
Yeah.
in what they're saying, because if you find yourself getting emotionally invested, sometimes that's going to affect the way you give advice. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
affect what comes out of your mouth. It's going to, you mean like, for instance, if you know somebody is being verbally abused or whatever. I mean, I don't know the whole situation, but you might know somebody else who's been verbally abused, and you're going to automatically respond a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have all the facts. And I hate to use the analogy or the example of abuse, because nobody should ever have to deal with abuse. Nobody. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. No one should have to deal with abuse. And if you find yourself dealing with it, then you need to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And counseling, find some kind of way to handle that.
Mhm.
Nobody should have to deal with it. But if you find yourself, explain and break that down, what I just said. How do you feel about that one, about getting too emotionally invested as far as when people are asking for advice?
So I think this is what happens with this is what probably brought about the topic tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if I'm bitter, if you say something, it triggers me, so I spew out from
Yeah.
that place of bitterness. And
Yes.
so when you're emotionally invested in the topic, it doesn't mean you don't care about the topic, but emotionally invested means you have to learn how to separate your emotions
That's
from
good.
what's actually being said.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of us have not, a lot of people just have not taken the time to heal and deal with their own stuff to even know why they are responding that way.
Wow.
They literally don't know why they're going off and screaming it because they've not done the work. And so um, I think I think what you said is correct. It's just difficult for a lot of people because they don't even recognize they're not healed.
Wow. And you know what,
Is
Corey, you could go ahead, Corey. Go ahead. Go say what you're going to
Yeah,
say
is
first.
that okay? So is it because they're not healed? Is that why people are so emotional? Well, I've been told a lot that I'm like hard
Will do. Will
because
do.
I move by principle and it has to make logical sense. It has to make sense for me to do certain things.
Hmm.
But I have my emotions. What's affecting me not being able to be more emotional? I've always wondered that, but I just I don't know. It has to make sense for me to do it, or to make that decision. I'm just not, I don't know.
No, you may just be a more kind of logical, like certain people function more from kind of just logic, just by the way they are created, and other people may be more emotional. People often assume that emotions are bad. They're not bad. Like, even if you make, when we say don't make emotional decisions,
Hmm.
we don't want, but emotions will influence our decisions, right? So I don't think the fact that you're making logical decisions is problematic. I think that's healthy. The problem is, am I doing this because I'm afraid to be vulnerable? Because that's a different perspective.
Hmm.
Some people are very calculated and they're going, no, I won't. I had a client who was just really guarded all the time, just scared to be vulnerable with anybody. I was like, okay, that's not healthy either. It's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to feel those emotions. You just don't want to be driven solely by
Hmm.
emotions. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I emotionally for we're about to have Christmas.
Hmm.
Oh, she's gonna love this. I can't wait to buy this because she's gonna get so excited. That's an emotional decision. That kid don't need
Yeah.
a toy. They don't, that
That's
girl
true.
next bedroom over has tons of toys. I'm
Yeah.
because I want to see the joy. It's an emotional decision. Doesn't mean it's a bad decision, right? Um,
Absolutely. I like
but
that.
if I'm buying her toys because and to the detriment of my own finances, if I'm buying her toys because that makes me feel like a good mom because I feel like I'm not good enough and I'm trying to meet some need that's not met, then I'm in an unhealthy
Mm,
place.
yeah.
So
That's good.
everything is not black or white of it has to be super logical or it has to be full emotional. There's a balance and it just takes a lot of self-reflection. I'm a counselor. I've had counseling. I'm a coach. I have a coach. Why? Because I think we have to keep working on
Yeah.
ourselves all the time because if
Right.
not, we'll be
I
doing things
agree.
just out of habit without recognizing we're no longer operating from a healthy place. I don't
Yeah.
know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's you ain't just you helped her. You ain't just helping her. You helping some other people too. But listen. Piggybacking what this is a quote. This is something somebody said earlier today, and I want to put this up here. But look, they said when we ask for advice, a way to keep from being emotional is we need to be other people centered and not self centered.
Hmm.
And that's one thing. That's one of the mistakes I think we make, especially with capitalism, right? Because capitalism always brings about these comparison things, right? Who's doing better, who's doing worse,
Yeah.
how the
Hmm.
juxtapose my position versus your position, and let's see, who's accomplished the most, and all, because everybody wants to compare. That's just the first thing that happens, right? Because it's just something about us seeing ourselves in the same scenario that the person who's seeking, and it's not, I mean, ironically and
Hmm.
and anatomically and so wonderfully, God created us with our own fingerprints. I mean, I got my own. I mean, no one else in the world has fingerprints like me, so I'm out of the people pleasing business. I don't do the whole trying to compare myself to anybody else because I'm not like any. God, he made me. I'm James H. Kirkland the second, and there's my son is the third, my dad is senior. That's it, and I'm not trying to but so when I listen to advice, I'm able to isolate. I did a sermon a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about the man that was lunatic. The father brought him to Jesus, and when Jesus came on the scene, the disciples kept trying to deal with him and couldn't do nothing with him, right? But then when Jesus came down, first thing Jesus said was, "Bring me the boy." So he didn't deal with the boy among all the other people, not even around his daddy. But that he took that one issue, isolated it, and then he dealt with that issue, right? And so many times, even in counseling and giving advice, we try to give this one size fits all advice. You know what I'm saying? This blanket form of advice and act like it applies to everybody's situation. And sometimes we'll act like because it applied in my situation that it'll work for you. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't work like that. Each and every situation is individual and unique. I know we write books. I know we put out everybody looking for a formula, and that's a way to do it. But everybody's situation is individual and unique. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong. You can tell me that. I don't mind being told wrong. I'm wrong on my show. I don't mind. You can tell me.
No, I
Go
think
ahead.
you're right. You have to have some level of intellect to say, yeah, that worked for them because of who they are in their situation. I can pull out, I can glean from their experience, but I can't make their experience be mine, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
If I were the one giving out information, you have to tell people apply as it fits you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good. That's good. Let me try to get through these fast so we can get out of here. I know you got a child and
She
everything.
sleeps.
All right.
She better be.
Ish. Okay. Okay. All right. Third thing, acknowledge that you might not be an expert in that area.
That's right. I agree.
Mhm.
Go ahead. It's okay. Listen, let y'all can tweet this, put it on Facebook. I don't care how you do it. It's okay not to have the answer. You know what? You know another form of therapy other than lip therapy? Shoulder therapy. You can put your head on my shoulder and cry, tissue therapy. Hand them some tissue, let them cry. I mean, put them in the car, ride down around the 285. That's what we are in Atlanta. Ride around 285 therapy. I mean, whatever it takes. But you don't have to have all of the answers. It's okay to say, you know what? I don't know, but I'm gonna hold your hand through this. We're gonna pray our way through this one together. You believe in him, and I believe in. I'm rolling with JC, whatever, But we'll sit here and we'll hold hands, and we'll pray, and we'll talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll listen. I mean, I've never been through what you've been through. I'm sorry, but I can empathize. I mean, I can sympathize with you. Tell me if I'm wrong on that. It's
Yeah,
okay not to be an expert. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
People pay me to quote unquote be the expert, and I still tell them I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
Listen, you came in. I have not lived your life. You are an expert on your own life.
Yeah.
You know what you've gone through. You know how you're feeling. You know those things. What I can do again is provide a different perspective. So I think you're absolutely right. It's okay. Not only is it okay, it's probably best that we don't come in like we have all the answers and we know everything. I tell clients all the time, I say you're a grown individual.
Yeah.
What I can do is help you process and say, have you considered this?
That's it.
Have you considered this? I have a client who literally says the whole time, but I don't know. Ain't nobody never teach me that. I don't know that. I don't know. Didn't nobody ever teach me? He says that all the
yeah,
time.
it's a lot of it.
And I'll go, okay, so what do you want to be taught? I want to learn this. Okay, well, how do you get that information? Let's talk about that. That's not me being an expert. That's him walking himself. This is what I
Yeah.
want. This is what I
hmm
need. These are the ways that I can get that. I'm simply asking questions to lead you to the place where you can figure it out for yourself.
That's it. And I think, this is one of my quotes that I quote all the time. Life lends lessons. We just have to consider the clues. And when we take time, Daddy taught me one principle. Daddy taught me is you got one ear, one mouth, and two ears and one mouth. I'm sorry, 2 ears and one mouth,
Mhm.
and that's to do twice as much listening as you do talking. I mean and so if you learn how to listen, if you learn how to consider the clues, if you will, that life lends, then it becomes easier to deal with life. And sometimes in counseling, and some of y'all that are listening tonight, and those who will listen to this in the future, some of y'all are getting some good little counseling one-on-one tips, without having to go through a school or go through a program and get a certificate. Because all we're basically doing is tell you to be an active listener. And if you don't know, it's okay to excuse yourself from the situation. Say, I'm not an expert. I might not be an expert in that area of advice, but I do know the man from Galilee, and I can pray. And he'll give you a peace that passes all understanding. I got that part. I can handle that part. But we got to know our limitations. So we're almost done. I got a couple more that we're done. We'll be through for the night. Number 4, make referrals when necessary. Make referrals when you might not have gone through what that person is going through, but you might know somebody who's going through or who has gone through what that person is going through. And if you do, share that information. I never will forget. I was in Arkansas one time, and it was this guy. He was suicidal almost, and was on drugs. And we worked at the same building. He was a security guard, and we kind of became cool. And when I found out he was having real hardships, I couldn't help him. But I told a pastor friend about him, Bishop Otis Floyd. He's dead and gone right now. But I told Bishop Otis Floyd about him, and Bishop Floyd was in Little Rock visiting from Flint, Michigan. And when I told him about Anthony, that was that guy's name. He said, "What's his phone number?" And do you know he went back to his hotel room that night and he called the young man, had a conversation with him, you know what I'm saying? And encouraged the mess out of him. I don't even know if he met and gave him some money or not, but that was his area because he had a pastoral anointing on him. And I knew I couldn't help him. So and the next day when I went to work, Anthony said, "Man, the bishop called me last night." And he had no clue who Bishop, who Bishop Otis Floyd is, right? You remember him? The man that sung, "I'm so glad trouble don't last always."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Timothy Wright, not Timothy Wright, but Otis Floyd was "Show Me the Way." Show me the way. Remember,
Yeah.
show me the way. Yeah, that song there. So he sung "Show Me the Way." But yeah, he was a nationally known pastor. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And he took time out of his busy day to call this man, and that call meant the world to him. And why? Because I made a referral. I knew that this wasn't my area of expertise.
Right.
And I knew that person needed a voice in that moment. I could have rode him around, could have rode him to the liquor store and bought him. I wasn't preaching. I could have bought him a doggone 40 ounce and let him drown his sorrow. You know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. But after he got through repeating that trauma, he would have had the same issue the
Mm-hmm.
next day. So but I didn't do that. I made that referral. And I think sometimes we learn how to gracefully bow out.
Man.
Gracefully, because sometimes, not sometimes, bad advice will do more harm than it does good. Because I hear Bishop Robinson used to use the analogy, it's like pouring water on a drowning man. So, I mean, if somebody's getting bad advice and you're pouring water on that person while they're already drowning, how they gonna get it? How they gonna breathe? How are they gonna get relief? You know what I'm saying? And I mean that we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful with that. I
Mm-hmm.
think I got one more, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna make a couple of quick announcements, then we're out. The final one is, I think this is the final one. Know when to excuse yourself. Know when, if you don't have the answer, excuse yourself. If you don't have the answer, or you don't have a referral, and you don't know how to pray or whatever, you don't feel like if you're not adding any value to the leave it alone. Give up. It's okay. I'm sorry. Am I saying that right? If I'm wrong, tell me, please. I'd like to know when I'm wrong. What should we do? Please tell us.
No, you're on point. If you don't have anything to add to the conversation, just be quiet. It's okay.
That's all it is, man. That's all I'm trying to tell y'all, for real talk. If we don't have nothing to add to the conversation, just leave it alone. And when you leave it alone, you're probably at least that person can probably go and find somebody else to get the advice from, and they will not have lost any ground. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are giving them bad advice, and if you're giving them bad advice, and the next thing you know, you're gonna have them losing ground, starting over. Now you got more. Now the problems are complicated. You know what I'm saying? Or not complicated. They've compiled on top of each other, because now I had this issue and now I got this issue, and you ain't done nobody no good. So please, man, please, sir. But more than anything, and you can help us kind of close out on this whole conversation, Tanisha, before I get into my quick announcements. And Corey, if you have anything else to add as well. But more than anything, if you have not been healed, sit it out. Excuse yourself from it, giving advice. Real talk. I went through almost a 3 to 5 year healing process. I know Ashley, y'all. I'm sorry, Corey. You want to make the star announcement, because Ashley keep giving me telling me to make the announcement about the stars, and I keep forgetting. That's like she giving me all kind of hints, like Tanisha. They say I suck at giving the star announcement, so they won't let me give the star. Go ahead, Corey. Tell them. Go ahead. Tell them how to do this. Go ahead.
You can select stars and purchase stars that help this platform. I'm not as good as Ashley either, but y'all see those stars. All it takes is press through.
I can do better than that, Corey. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't suck that bad. I think you might be worse than me. Down at the bottom, you can see a little star icon. If you press on the star, Corey can take it. That's the only reason I deal with them. That's the only reason I deal with that. So Corey, I can talk to Corey like that, because she, like she said, she don't have no emotion, no way. She's heartless. That was a weird. She's a savage.
I don't believe that, Corey. I don't believe it.
No, hold on. Corey's savage, classy, boozy, rat. But no, at the bottom of the platform, you next to the emoticons with the likes and the hearts and all the stuff, you'll see a little one that says star. If you click on that, then it'll give you an option to purchase stars, and that helps this platform. So, but as I was saying, as we get ready to leave out of here, she said it was Corey, but I'm gonna stick beside you. If you're not healed, sit it out. And if you're not healed, Lord, go get some therapy or something. Me, after my divorce, I knew I was hurt, and I know hurt people hurt people. Now, and looking at it in reverse, I realized why I had to sit here for 2 or 3 years by myself and limit my exposure to something, because I'm swift with this mouth, man, and it comes out fast. It come out quicker than I hurt you. You know what I'm saying? I don't even mean to. And when the dust all settles and I've thrown all these bombs out here, I'm by myself, because I've hurt so many people. I bled on people who did absolutely nothing to me. And now that I'm healed and understand that, I see so many other people that are bleeding on people that have done nothing to them, right? Because you think it's good advice. You think you're saving somebody from going through what you've been through. You got to let people live their lives, man. And sometimes you will make them abort their mission, or you'll cause something, not to come into fruition that's supposed to, because you bleeding on people. Corey, you work in a lab. Don't y'all have a special way you got to carry the blood?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. Do you walk around with blood in a glass? Is it exposed? Come on now, you got to stay with me now. Don't laugh at my joke. It ain't. This is real right here. Am I lying? Do you if you need a sample, is that sample touchable?
Biohazard.
I can't hear you.
It's a biohazard.
It's a biohazard. So how do you protect a biohazard?
We protect it by putting it in the tube.
And the tube the seal's not going to be broken until it's time to be tested, right? And that's what needs to happen in our person. You got to help me make these analogies. These be God analogies right here. But listen, when our lives are like that biohazardous material. Do you hear what I'm saying? And if we don't seal it properly until the time comes for it to be tested, and if it hadn't been tested properly, then what happens is it'll spill out and it'll cause more damage.
Contamination.
And you don't even know contamination. And you don't even know it could be AIDS blood because you ain't tested it yet. It could be some other type of blood, meningitis blood. You don't know what kind, because you haven't tested it yet, right? And so until you know this biohazardous material needs to be packaged properly and sealed. My apartment was my packaging. Living in this house alone for them 2-3 years was my sealing. It kept me from spreading this biohazardous material. And some of y'all need to package yourselves properly and realize that you have biohazardous material. And now watch this. Once it's tested, now and watch this. All material is packaged, right? But some of it, after we test it, we realize that it's not harmful. That's when we release it. That's when we're good. And that's what we got to do with our lives. That's what we got to do with our lives. We got to be careful sharing this biohazardous material. Go ahead and say what you're about to say, Corey. You like them little analogies I've been coming up with. That's my Corey, y'all. That's my Corey. Tanisha, you got anything for you? I got to give a couple of announcements, but you got anything for us before you get ready to head out?
No, I think this was an excellent conversation, and you have to always look at. I'm always thinking about how do I empower somebody. So from the perspective of don't give the advice until you're healed. I'm looking at, I can control if they're giving this advice, but from my perspective, I still have to look at. I have to look to see if I see signs that they're not healed. Do I still see scabs that's bleeding? Yeah. Do I still see sores that I see people all the time? I'm divorced. Thank goodness I'm healed. I see people all the time going through a divorce, and they literally every other post is something. I'm like, ooh, sis, sis, a man don't this and a woman don't, and you don't get. It's still very much in you. Guess who I'm not taking advice from? The person who I still see bleeding. And so it's not only important for us to look at that lab and say, oh, you have to cover that. I also have to go, oh, but you bleeding, so you stay over there.
Yeah.
Like, it's my responsibility to protect me. It's my responsibility to, now I'm going to say it's God's responsibility, but you know what I'm saying in this perspective of I can't go and go, oh, she's so angry. Let me go listen to everything she got to say.
Ooh, that's not good.
I have to take some ownership in that of these profile, these high position people, they tell you all the time that they're not healed. You can see it really easily. Just look. Do you have a man, sweetheart? Do your kids like you? Can you sleep at night? Do you enjoy your life? Do you like
a real yourself? Question? That's a real question.
And if the answer is not health, if not where I want my life, I don't have to sit there and listen to that.
They tend to not be comfortable with themselves. So when they're not,
you break it up, Corey. Corey, you break it up. You breaking up all of a sudden.
Can y'all hear me now?
And your
Mhm.
yeah, your mic got a little lower too. What'd you do different?
Okay. Okay.
No, we're
So when
good.
they're
You're good
not
right there.
okay, when they're not comfortable, you have to recognize when they're not comfortable with themselves. When they're not comfortable with themselves, you don't need that advice because they don't like them. They don't like
Yeah.
themselves.
Mhm.
So it's a lot
But
of
I
it's a
think the
lot
people
of poets. Go
I
ahead.
think the people Tanisha are talking about though, they wear a heck of a mask though. And they
Yeah,
and
they probably do. That's why
they put on the
we have
image
to
of
recognize
healed. Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
have to
yeah.
recognize the
Yeah,
poets,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, versus the experts.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
There's a lot of
yeah.
poets out there, you know,
A
so
lot of them out there.
we can't be drawn to them and alleviate the experts, you know. But there's a lot of
Mhm.
that going on social media just because they can monetize it, you know, and it's
Yeah.
sad that a lot of people listen to it. A lot of people are influenced by it.
Yeah.
That's like that girl you had me listen to that night. You ever send me that link again? She's talking all that noise about me and then said she didn't want no man.
Ah.
Telling
There
you how
you
to
go.
get a man, but then she didn't want no man. I'm like, that's oxymoronic, but you gonna tell, but she talking like her stuff was law too. You know, I just tell people my stuff is
Yes, and it
options.
was definite. It was
My stuff
definite.
is
You're
options. You know,
absolutely right.
you can
I
do what
said,
you want to with
"Ooh,
my advice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna try to get some rational thinking people like Tanitri on here. You know, I'm gonna
yes."
get the, I'm gonna get Ashley. I'm gonna get Coy. You know, Ashley represents a certain demographic. Coy represents a certain demographic. I bring Mark on every night. Mark represents a certain demographic. You
The
know, and I
same
try to
one.
give different perspectives. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? And that's it. You know, but beyond that, if you do what you want to with it, if it don't help you, fine. But I'm gonna do my job every Monday, every other Monday, whenever I decide to come on. I got stuff.
and I'm gonna
I
have my
use
pen and paper ready, and I'm gonna just go back and say, "So let me ask you this."
that's all Corey do. Corey, I ain't
I
even
like
asking
it.
all them questions. I'm trying to get out of them conversations. I'm trying to get over them as quick as I can. All right, let me make my quick announcements. If you want to leave, Tanitra, you're welcome to it, but I'm be on about another 3 to 5 minutes. And
I can listen
if
to
that,
these announcements.
hey, hallelujah. All right, so first announcement is that I've announced already that we are starting our TV show in January. I start recording. Thank you very much.
Congrats.
I start recording not this week, but next week because I have to pre-record all the shows. So we're going to be on the Inspire You network. You'll be able to find us on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, all those different platforms. I've already had people ask me how they can partner with the platform. So I will be. I have 2 commercials available per show. And so we're going to also start advertising on this platform. We're going to start making some changes. So you all will start seeing commercials during the show because I want people to get as much exposure as they can by listening to our show. And if they decide to partner with the platform to help us grow. So we're looking forward to that. I think we're going to start January the 17th. I'm doing a Tuesday afternoon, like at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a daytime show. So, but it's also going to be on demand. So you'll be able to go back and watch it. It'll only be a 30-minute episode. So I'm looking forward to that. So I need those that are interested in partnering with us on our Facebook and YouTube live shows and our TV shows, all the Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, all those are mediums that we use. So if you want to partner with us, you can. Some people have asked me if we can make the commercials for those that are trying to do that. I'm working on that. I should have an answer on that in the next day or two, and we'll make that happen as well. And the other thing is that on January the what is it 21st? Uh, January 21st is what it is. Corey, that's why I need Ashley right now. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
January 21st. Yeah, January 21st
coming
is
in
we go.
January.
Yeah, January 20. Here it is right here. January 21st. We have in North Little Rock, Arkansas. The Intellectual Stew will be sponsoring the Melting Pot Speed Dating event. That's going to be on January 21st. It's a Saturday at north of the city in North Little Rock. It's going to be $25 admission. We're going to have a speed dating. For those that have never done speed dating, what that is you're going to have 15, 20 men, and we'll walk around. We'll be able to rotate from table to table and have 7 to 10-minute dates throughout. And so we'll have some guided questions to help with the conversation and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. So if you're out, my registration form should be done hopefully by tomorrow. And once that's done, because I've had several people who've already contacted me asking me could they be a part of the speed dating event. But all I need are the registration forms because I want to make sure I monitor this and kind of make sure that first of all, I want to make sure we have dateable people there. I want people that y'all want to date, men that y'all want to date, and I want women that men want to date. I'm not participating. I'm just gonna host it. So I ain't got time to be having. I don't even like people that much to have 7-minute conversations. So I'm joking. That's the introvert in me. Y'all know how I am. Now y'all might see me over the corner talking to somebody, but it ain't gonna be table to table, 20 folk and all that. No, I'm joking. I
Hey,
might.
now.
We'll see. I might, because I want us to do this. It's gonna be fun. So January 21st, that's taking place. Listen, I need you to go ahead and register because I need you to register so we can go ahead and get it taken care of. Because we're also going at the end of the speed dating event, we're gonna do a podcast. And that'll be a live podcast. And some of you all will be invited to the podcast. And we'll talk about the experience at the speed dating event. Okay. So that's going to be fun. $25. That's all.
That
What's
sounds
that,
It's
fun.
gonna
Yeah,
yes, it's gonna be so exciting.
come on back to Little Rock. It's going to be January 21st. So come on in. Come, if you get
I
a
will
chance.
be
Come.
right here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna
Listen,
say,
I'll be right here. Well, we're gonna figure out how to do a virtual one day. Corey already suggested we do a virtual one day, so we'll figure out how to do a virtual speed dating event eventually. Because I'm trying to build a community here, and so we'll be doing events, at least one quarterly, and we'll be able to start moving forward with all that. So, those that want to be a part of speed dating event, contact myself, contact Ashley Granberry, Melinda Dokes, Kiki Jarrett. Y'all contact us, and we'll get you the registration form. You can contact Corey as well. And we'll get you the registration form, and we can go ahead and get this started. It's gonna be 20 men, 20 women. That's it. 20 men. That's almost too many. So 20 men, 20 women. That's it. Once we reach our limits, I'm sorry, you got to get on the next one. Okay. So 20 men, 20 women, $25 a piece. Live podcast. Cool. So that's where we are.
Speed dating is always so fun. It's gonna be a blast.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. I ain't never done it before. I was married for 20 years, but I'm trying something different. So, hey, I got married so early. But it's been real. It's been fun. We've had Tanisha. Tanisha, will you come back?
Absolutely.
For real?
Yeah.
We got her. Boy, we got her.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's nice to meet
We
you. Corey.
enjoyed you, definitely.
So how do we say it when we get out of here? We say that the world is changing. But my question for you is, Corey,
Why do you remain the same?
Why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. No, Chastity, we need you there. We need jokers too. Y'all have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.